guess what? You're going to be pruned if you do, and you're going to be pruned if you don't. That's exactly right. And you're going to find this. I want you to stay with me. It won't be a long teaching, but it's just a thought that I want to share with you. And let's go into this immediately. And of course, subscribe to our channel. If you like, give it a thumbs up if you learned something. We always want you to do that. In the New Testament, you know, you have to understand the New Testament, of course, is written in a time when the Roman Empire was occupying much of the Mediterranean and parts of Asia. And the Roman Empire, of course, was known for its soldiers, and that's why Paul could write about the book of Ephesians and the armor of God, because he compared the armor of God to the armor that a Roman soldier would wear. And one of the other things that you'll find in the Bible is there's a lot of agrarian or agricultural type of metaphors that are used. The wheat and the tare, you have farming, which are the sheep and the goat. And one of the things that Jesus talked about was pruning a vine. And in John's gospel, he talks about, I am the vine and you are the branches. So he's the main vine, and all those branches represent the believers. And you see here, this is a grapevine, pictures of a grapevine. And by the way, that's not me in my earlier days. I don't even know who that is. This is from stock footage that we pay for, so who knows who that is. He may be watching right now. But anyway, in a vineyard, and so in Israel you have first of all, olive trees. And there's a lot of analogies and metaphors that can be used in the Old New Testament concerning the wild tree, the natural tree, or the olive tree, olives, olive oil representing the anointing. But in the New Testament, he talks about a vineyard. And of course, there are many vineyards in what is called the West Bank. And I'm saying that because many of you will be familiar with what I'm saying. In the area of Hebron are some of the most delicious grapes almost anywhere in the world that you'll find. So he says this, he says, okay, if the branch is not producing fruit, I'm going to cut it off. I'm going to prune it. So many times in our life, if we, or maybe you, have a situation where you feel like you've been cut, you feel like you're going through something, you're dealing with something and you don't understand it, what is happening more than likely is that the Lord is allowing you to be pruned. And I can also use a New Testament word, chastisement, to be chastised. Sometimes it's in the form of a rebuke. Sometimes it's in the form of something coming against you to where you have to put your trust in God. Sometimes it's God exposing something to get it out of you so it does not harm you later or even destroy you later. And so there is a pruning process. So I see so many people who, in my opinion, they go to church when they want, they give when they want, and they're not producing any fruit whatsoever. And guess what happens? Trouble comes, really severe trouble comes, and guess where you find them? Coming back to the house of God, coming back to church. Hell breaks loose. They're suddenly found out they're dying, and they start repenting to people that they should have repented to 10 years ago because they're trying to make everything right. So a lot of times, if you're not producing spiritual fruit, if you're not walking in the Word of God, walking in the commandments of the Lord, and you're just all over the board, and yet you call yourself a Christian, guess what's going to happen? Woohoo! Pruned. Jesus will come to prune the dead stuff out of your life, the stuff that's not producing anything. He'll even remove people. Remember, Christ is the vine, but the people are the branches. If you got dead branches hanging on to you know, see, here's a branch. Let me see if I can do this. Here's a branch. You got to go the opposite. But notice there's little leaves coming off of that branch. Those can represent people. Well, if you're a branch and part of that's dying because you got the wrong people around you, guess what's going to happen? Chop, chop. The Lord's going to somehow allow a crisis to come, confusion to come, or something to happen to get those people out of your life. You can't keep your journey with them. You can't keep going. So don't get mad and angry for years and, well, I'll tell you what, it's their fault, blah, 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 if that hadn't. No. The reason it happened is for you to get away and for them to get away from you. And you can go on with your life and they can go on with their life and you don't have to deal with each other. That's why it happened. And sometimes your relationships they just stink. They started okay and they become stinking and God said, nope, not going to have it. So therefore, sometimes a pruning is separating you from people. All right, now here's the part in John's gospel. I'm saying this from memory. You can look this up in John's gospel. Jesus said this, and this is the part I'm like, what? And that's why I said pruned if you do and pruned if you don't. So here's the pruned if you don't. If you don't produce fruit, you're going to get pruned. Here's the pruned if you do. If you do produce fruit, you're going to get pruned. Oh my goodness. I read that and I'm thinking, no, please. I'm producing fruit. Why do you want to prune me? And he said this, if you're producing fruit, if you're doing what you're supposed to do, there's going to be some cuttings in your life. And there again, it's cutting people, it's cutting situations, it's cutting places. He cuts it out so that you can produce more results, more souls through the kingdom, more income to use for the kingdom. And so either way, and I know pruning does not feel good. I've been through it. But either way, you're going to get pruned. If you're producing fruit, there'll be some things happen that don't despise it. It's going to eventually cause the branch to regrow and produce more fruit. And if you are not producing fruit, what does that mean? That means not following the Lord. You don't go to prayer meeting. You don't seek God. You never read the Bible. You're Christian in name only, but you're not producing anything on the vine. You're going to get pruned. And you'll either turn to God or you'll turn away from God in the pruning process. There's no two ways about it. You'll either get mad because the Lord did it. I don't understand why God's doing this to me. Or you'll just say, oh, Lord, I don't know what you're doing, but you know the best. And then what happens is if you'll go through the process of the pruning, you'll look back on it maybe months, maybe even years later and say, you know what? That was really the Lord doing that. I would be in a whole different situation now had it not been for Him rescuing me out of certain people's lives, strongholds, just all sorts of things. So I want you to keep that in mind. I'm going to conclude with this story. My sister-in-law, who is Pam's sister, went out west, and it was a business trip actually, so they wanted to take them to some of the vineyards that were in Northern California. Well, she went. None of us drink alcohol, and that's our conviction. But she didn't go for that. She went because she wanted to see a vineyard and what they were like. So when she went, she noticed that she had these beautiful grapevines, but they had red tags on certain branches. And so she asked the person who was guiding it, she says, what are the little red tags for? And she says, well, I was going to get to that, but I'll share it with you now. They've noticed that these are branches that did not produce grapes, or they didn't produce good grapes. So they're marked to be cut. We're going to cut them. And she said, well, okay, why do you do it? She said, well, if you don't, watch this now. If you don't cut the branches that are dying or not producing fruit off the vine, they will soak out the life from the root and from the main vine, and then other branches will eventually die. Wow. So in other words, you have to cut the dead stuff out, not just to get more fruit, but so that it doesn't suck the life out of the vine. I mean, look, there's people, folks, you got to admit this. There are people that if you're around them, they are always negative. They are always reviling. They are always critical. They are always finding fault. And you might like being around people like that, but I don't have time for people like that. I am not letting them suck the life out of me and the joy out of me and the peace out of me. Ain't going to happen. I'm going to find, even if it's 2 or 3 people, I'm going to find people that pray who are positive that will help me not only to pray with things, pray through things, get through things, but to be friends. And so, good news, bad news. Good news is, bad news is, eventually you're going to get pruned. Good news is, at the end of it, you're going to get more fruit. You're going to have more results. God's going to be able to trust you with more things, and the blessing will come. Isn't that an interesting teaching? Pruned if you do, pruned if you don't. Give it a thumbs up if you like it, and keep watching because I want to share with you. We're going to our warehouse and offering some new material. Now, when we're out of this material, we are out. I don't want to. I've written 100 books, so we're going to move those books and let people be able to get what's left in our stock. And some of you that don't have this stuff, you need to get it because I spent sometimes months or years researching just one book that I read. I'm not talking about years every day or months every day, but over a period of time. So watch this and subscribe to our channel. Give it a thumbs up, please. Thank you.
Standing on the subject of angels. When you order this book, Perry is including a new 2-audio CD teaching set, Defeating Satan's Toughest Attacks. Perry will reveal how to deal with depression, oppression, and suicidal thoughts, and how to defeat the spirit of the double curse. Order the new book and audio CD set online at perrystone.org or call the toll-free number 1-888 1-888-21-BREAD. That's 1-888-212-7323 and ask for offer number ANG131. You may also send a donation of $30 or more and request offer ANG131. The address is Perry Stone, P.O. Box 3595, Cleveland, Tennessee 37320. We look forward to hearing from you soon.
If you enjoyed this YouTube content, there's an important website you should know about: perrystone.org. Perrystone.org is an essential resource for the latest books, audiovisual presentations, and digital products from Perry Stone Ministries, resources that cover the same kinds of topics discussed in the program you just watched. Stop in and see all that's available at perrystone.org.